and then I'll find the music.
I've been taking the stairs lately, and there's no music in the stairs. Nothing.
Oh, I see. Because usually you would take the elevator, but now you're being all like fitness.
I got a fitness tracker, and I'm trying to, be health conscientious. Yeah, I get like my 50 steps a day. It seems like, because I sit so much. Actually, no, I get a lot more than that. I've been taking a walk, so more like 5,000 steps a day.
I read somewhere that we're just plants with, depression. So you should just, like, if you're feeling sad, have some water, get some sunlight, go for a walk. And you'll feel better.
Take a nap. That's my answer.
Take a nap. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I took a nap today and it was awesome.
Oh.
This is compelling stuff.
I love naps, but I don't like waking up from naps. I'm really bad at that part of the whole thing.
Audience, how do you feel about naps?
Good
Listeners
question
out there.
Yeah, everybody who's watching, let it sound off in the comments. Do we love naps? The answer's got to be yes. So, William, what I've discovered is that if I nap for more than 20 minutes, I feel groggy and like out of it. But if I wake up after 20 minutes, that's like perfect. I'm sure science backs this up somehow. See, look at that.
Yeah, I've read something about that before. You've got to really time your naps. And
we've got a supporter here. Warner says yes.
This is the hard-hitting content you follow us all for. Yes. We know that.
Yeah, if I take a nap, it's an hour and a half minimum. Like I sleep. Like there's none of this 20-minute nonsense. Yeah.
That's the philosophy of naps. We're gonna write a book.
Oh my god.
There we go. That's my next big career move.
after the Cloud Gambit. So welcome, William, Yvonne. Welcome to the live stream. We wanted to have you on because you are now fellow packet pushers with your podcast, The Cloud Gambit. So I don't know, William, you want to tell us a little bit about this podcast that you run and why you do it?
Sure. Yeah. We're practically coworkers now. It's great. Always awesome to expand the team. So. Yeah, so I guess it's been almost 2 years. I started out solo and eventually picked up an amazing co-host because I'll tell you one thing. It's, as you all know, doing a podcast episode, having a variety of guests that you bring on, you got to do a lot of reading. You got to do a lot of research. And sometimes it's just nice to have someone else with you that can help, add another dimension. With Yvonne, it's a lot of philosophy. A lot of great stuff that my brain doesn't think of first when I'm going into these things. I'm usually like technical and let's talk nuts and bolts or something, get into the weeds. And Yvonne really helps, zoom out and look at the bigger picture, which is a great combination. I think the two of us have a really good chemistry there. But so I started out honestly thinking. I transitioned from like big enterprise in my professional career to like a startup space. And the startup space really opened my eyes to so many different things that I had never thought about, things I'd never had to think about. A lot more. I mean, I was already doing a lot of stuff on the business side, but just even more on the business side, optics wise from startup perspective. So a lot of the things like the intersection of the different areas I was working with day in and day out, like there wasn't a lot of podcasts like bringing things together like in the way that I was experiencing it at the time. So I thought, hey, it was kind of a science experiment at first. And the first question I get a lot is like, what's with the name? What does that even mean? Like, yeah. And the point of that was like, well, first of all, there's like no names out there anymore. Every name's been like taken up. It's pretty hard, but I'm a big chess fan. I was in chess club as a kid. I love chess. I've taught all my kids chess. And one of the big, like as far as coming to popularity again for the younger generation, there was a Netflix show called The Queen's Gambit, which was an awesome show, by the way.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. And that's basically geared after a chess move. It's a classic chess opening where basically white opens with d4, black responds with d5, and then white plays c4. And this offers up the C pawn is kind of like bait, like sacrificial, pawn for positioning. So the gambit sacrifices material up front in exchange for just superior piece development and really control the center of the board, rather than, simply saying, hey, I got a pawn at the immediate time. Look at me. I have one more piece than you at this moment. It's more like white seeking the long-term strategic advantage, faster piece mobilization, so on and so forth. And I think it's a perfect metaphor for the strategic thinking that we all go through, like in our field. Technology's a little wild, and sometimes you need to give up something immediate or just wait and kind of bide your time, and you're going to get a really tangible gain in value over time if you play your cards right. And it may be like less obvious at first, but giving yourself a strategic advantage, positional edge, that pays dividends later on down the road. And I think a lot of that translated with cloud computing specifically, because it was kind of a gambit at first. There was a lot of risk, a lot of misunderstanding, but the companies that did it well and thought through it, and instead of saying, hey, we're going to migrate all of our data centers up to the cloud in 18 months and it's going to be great, and oh yeah, now we're going to go talk to the tech people and understand that we have 5 rows of mainframes. It's one of those things where okay, we put in the time, we think about it, we do it the right way, and it's kind of hard and we're sacrificing some things up front, but over time, it's just an excellent value proposition for the things that it makes sense to do. So that's kind of where the name came from. Kind of long-winded there, but yeah. What about you, Yvonne?
Quite an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think, one of the questions, and it takes some time to do a podcast, and it takes some effort and some coordination. And I think why, for me, the answer to the why question is, for me, the connection to community is still very valuable. For me, I joined Twitter in the glory days, 2011, I think.
Yep.
When it was still a brand new platform and we were all still trying to figure it out. And I joined and tweeted, and then somebody replied to me that I didn't know. And I'm like, how do they even find me? How does this thing work? But there was really a vibrant community of network engineers on Twitter back in the early days. And what I can say about that is my career wouldn't be where it is today without that community of people. And especially by the time I went to my first Cisco Live in 2013, I had enough of a community on Twitter that we all congregated and connected in real space. And I think the podcast still keeps me connected to that. We still get to meet great people in the industry. And for me, having that network of folks, and we all, no matter what we do, have a very limited scope in our day jobs. And I think it helps me broaden the aperture to see what else is going on in the industry. And that connection is really important to me. So for me, that's a big part of my, why do we continue to podcast and connect with folks?
For me, community is such a big part of it. And I too joined Twitter in the glory days of tech Twitter, and made friends with a ton of DevOps and sysadmins and just folks who were struggling with the same challenges I was. And I, got noticed a little bit and helped build my career as it is today by connecting with people and maintaining those connections. And even though Twitter's kind of fallen by the wayside, I found other replacements for keeping that community alive. And podcast is one of those. We get lots of good feedback and people reach out. We get to talk to interesting folks who I would otherwise not have an excuse to talk to.
It's just a fantastic vehicle to approach your heroes and say, hey, want to hang out? And they say yes. And it's crazy. I'm a nobody. Why are you want to talk to me? But they do. They say yes. It's great. So it's like a cheat code. I think of it like that. And it's so fun.
Yeah, I had Corey Quinn at one point, and I was thinking at the time, there's no way Corey's going to come on my podcast. Probably not. I'm not big enough yet, or, not related to the stuff he usually talks about, but he was more than gracious to come on, and then he had me on Screaming in the Cloud, and then I got to see what a real a grown-up podcast sort of operated like, which was really cool. He's well-oiled machine, so you're right. It gives you an excuse to talk to folks that you wouldn't normally get to talk to, and usually there's pre-conversation, post-conversation, and you've made a new connection. And a lot of the folks that I've had on, some of us keep in contact, and I've almost made, I wouldn't say friends, but good professional relationships. It's been good.
What are some like standout episodes for you that like expanded your mind, or it was just like such an interesting topic and conversation?
Well, I think I'm gonna
go ahead, Yvonne. I'll let you.
Well, yeah, no. Anytime we have like John Capobianco on to talk about what the work he's doing with networking and AI, and he brings such energy and such excitement, and he helps me think beyond the world that I see every day, and I feel like the whole podcast could just be John every other week, but that would probably be more than he's up for.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's good to have that, because like a lot of times I want to be innovative, I want to try new things, but I'm also like in the back of my mind, I'm like, how do I build something, especially when I was working in enterprise, how do I build something that is like an enterprise grade thing that can be operationalized? And usually it means watering down a lot of things, and not, it's a little bit slow, and you're just kind of stuck in the lowest common denominator of this team or this department or this part of the business doing this thing. And the thing I love about John is he's like bleeding edge. Like the pull request is, like we have a merge on like Google's A to A on GitHub, and he's like testing it like a few minutes later and like doing things with it. So like when you talk bleeding edge, I feel like he scouts he has set up some bot that's like tracking all these repos and letting him know when, something's been merged. Because at the end of the day, like a lot of those things, you're not going to be able, I can't take them practically and like use them in an enterprise. But it kind of gives me like, hey, it's always great to know like where you're at and where your business is at. But it's also awesome to know, hey, where's that ball going, or where could it possibly be going? You may not know 100%, but at least you can start get your, the brain working and the cogs turning to kind of figure out, hey, is this going to be a thing? And, stay informed. And that's what I love about John. He keeps you informed on the most new things with AI and MCP in our space.
We had him on as well, and it was one of those situations where after the episode, I felt like my head was spinning. There was just so much information being thrown at me, and there were new terms that I'd never heard before, and I just felt like, okay, now I need to go read for the next 3 hours to even slightly catch up to where John is. And by that time, he's going to be 10 light years ahead of me on whatever the next cool thing is that's going to, boost networking or Python or one of his passions in that area.
Yeah. I think the few other standout episodes, I had Hu Jin Ho from Bloomberg on to talk supply chain for hardware, specifically with like GPUs, and just talking that. The reason I mentioned that episode is like after that episode, I probably did more reading and like more research online than I ever have for any other episode, just because of the stuff we talked about. I was like fascinated for probably a few weeks, just learning, looking at like the whole process behind a fab and like why it's been so hard to bring these fabs into the US, and like the work that is required and the regulations, and like where all the, kind of differentiating between the like naturally occurring resources that go into wafers versus like the stuff that's built in a lab, and like all the stuff, how it's put together. It is so complicated. And I thought I knew more about it than what I did, which is always a humbling experience when you realize, hey, I actually don't know anything about this. But it's like so cool, and it just kind of gets your curiosity and excitement up that you want to learn something about it. And yeah, that episode was really fun.
Let's see. And I was looking through some of the other folks you've had on. I saw one that talks about ultra marathoners. With Matic
Warner
batters.
Hotels. Yeah.
I was just thinking about the show we recorded with Matic, and first of all, like Matic has really done the thing, like right. He has really led a IT organization through the transformation, and been at the front lines of helping a customer successfully change how they operate. And we talk about that a lot. We talk about transformation, especially, those of us that are, on the pre-sales side of things, and we paint this picture of what is possible. But most of the customers we talk to fall short of the full vision, right? They get pieces of it, they grow, they succeed, they change. But very rarely do you have one that embraces the whole story and is able to actually successfully transform their organization and deliver. And Matic is one of the people that has done that. And I think if you are in the middle of a, transformation at your company, folks are talking about how you actually do it, he's actually done it. And it was just fascinating and inspiring, I think, to talk to him.
He took risks too. So you hear all these magical things, like these motivational, like, oh, the beautiful thing about cloud things is you start small and you do a thing and you fail fast. You learn what doesn't work fast and you keep iterating, and there's a little bit of risk involved, and there's all this like talking points. And in reality, most big companies can't bite that off. They don't work that way. And Matic had a really interesting, I still remember because this kind of blew my mind. So I was like, so when we talked about like modernizing application stuff, he didn't start off with the lowest fruit. He went all in and did the big thing first. High visibility application. And I think his sort of explanation behind that was, hey, we've got to show value to the business. We're taking this very seriously. Like you had this whole, once he started talking more about why, it just got me thinking, and I was like, wow, that's, it seems like a little bit of a risk, but with a compassionate leader that's involved, that knows what they're doing, they're enabling the right people, they have the right vision and everything. I thought his talking points there were pretty unique. They're not ones that I honestly have ever heard. I've never heard of anybody. I think I said it on the podcast, like, wow, I've never heard anybody do it this way. This is awesome. So and
his thinking there was, we're going to take our most mission critical app, and we are going to transform it. We're going to deploy it in the cloud, and once we do it with that one, there'll be no question whether we can do it with the other ones, right?
Oh wow!
And it was it is a bold move, but he was able to pull it off and drove not only the technical change, but the organizational and the cultural change to make it real.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
There's so many additional factors beyond just changing the code and moving it.
Yeah.
And all the support and those pieces need to be in place to be successful. And I think that's where a lot of programs fall short, is they focus on the technical portion of it, which is comparatively easy, and they forget about the people and the culture and the process that needs to also change. And wow, it sounds like he bit off a big chunk and made a gamble or a gambit. We call it a gambit.
There you go. I like it.
But it paid off for him. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. What about you also? As far as, so Ned, you have you still do Chaos Lever?
It's on hiatus right now.
Okay.
But it'll come back sometime in the fall, hopefully. Chris and I are actually working on books together.
Oh, wow.
Those were highly entertaining, by the way. And they were short. They weren't like super long, so I could like actually listen to a full, episode or catch up on a walk.
Yeah. We were trying to keep them like 30 minutes or so for like the main episode, and then we had our quick like tech news of the week stuff. We are now working with O'Reilly to help them produce guides and reports. Somehow they found us. And so we're almost finished our first book for them, which is going to be publicly available. It's a guide to adopting Linux on Azure. And then we just started a new report for them that's going to be talking about selecting an operating system in the current economic and technological climate, and like what goes into operating system selection, which sounds esoteric, but it actually does really matter when you start looking into it, especially with like the funkier hardware that's out there for AI. Like, you need an operating system and software that can talk to all those GPUs and do it at maximum speed if you're trying to get the biggest bang for your buck.
I'm building out a Linux native machine for all my daily driver stuff again. It's been a while since I've done that with like a Linux desktop, and I'm going to see how it goes. But I've done some AI stuff on ARM Silicon with Mac, and it's just, there's a lot of things on Mac that I don't prefer, like especially when it comes to containers, AI things, like things that I think that are very easy on Linux. They just work. Can kind of be a little bit challenging on Mac, and I think I need just a change of scenery. We'll see how it goes.
About every 5 years, I forget how painful it is to have a Linux desktop driver and just like, recomputing the kernel so it can display a higher resolution on screen, when in like the handheldy OSs, you just tap the drop down. And I try, and then I'm like, this was hard.
I hope that's not my experience again.
So
I've gone through the same thing.
I applaud you. I applaud you.
So talk about problem solving. How do you all, so Yvonne and I have been going through and trying to figure out how to do our calendars with our busy schedules and bringing guests on. Do y'all have any tips for us that you can publicly impart?
Sure. We use Calendly.
Full stop. Problem solved. It's amazing.
It's tied into my calendar and 2 of Kyler's calendars, and it just finds availability on all those calendars, and we can set automations off of it. So when someone does book an episode with us, hey, if you're out there and you're considering being a guest, reach out, let us know. We're always looking for guests. But once somebody actually books some time with us, it creates the Google Planning doc, it creates the Zoom meeting or the Zencaster meeting, and does some other stuff. So it's nice that it has those tie-ins. We had to pay for it. Like, the free version doesn't do everything that I would want. And I had to create some automations on the side through Zapier, but it does exactly what we need.
Yeah, that's kind of where we are, and what we're discovering is that the hodgepodge of free tools that we've pulled together just are not meeting all the needs. And then you've got your work calendars that you may not be able to sync completely, and then you've got all the other, the family calendar, and then the scheduling calendar, and then all the because at least for me and William, we are also juggling busy kid calendars with sports and activities and after school stuff and all those fun things, in addition to the day job and the podcast. So
it's made me have to put everything on my because we're going down that same path. I was using Calendly free for a little bit, and now we're upgrading to the Teams version so we can both log in and both manage things at the same time. So glad to hear kind of that seems like a successful path that we're kind of doing something that someone else has found successful anyway.
And the Zapier integration is pretty good too. I don't think that's included in the free tier, but once you upgrade to the Teams or any paid one, you get access to some of the APIs, so you can actually just talk directly to it. I'm sure there's additional automation I could do. Like you were saying before, I just need to model what Corey Quinn does, because he's got it down to an absolute streamlined science where all he has to do at this point is show up to the recording and press the right button, and then press the button again when he's done, and everything else gets sent to the editors automatically, and the show notes are generated automatically, and that's it. He's done.
I'm working on that. I'll let you know. I've got I'm probably 30% of the way there, the 30% being pretty good. and I'm trying to figure out like I was telling you, just getting the recordings off of the platform. I'm not paying for a business tier of Riverside for thousands of dollars a month just to get an API. There's not a chance.
Yeah.
And how else? Yeah, we'll see.
William, we need to collaborate with all of these technical friends and create a podcaster AI agent that does all these things for us.
I was going to suggest that. I have been doing a lot of vibe coding for quick solutions lately, and it has been awesome. I needed to build a website for another streaming thing I do with my buddy Marino, and took me like, I don't know, half a day to create this fully functional website with a contact form and everything and get it up on Netlify and then tweak it so it looked nice. It was great.
Oh yeah, Marino was another good guest we had on. Remember Marino?
Oh yeah.
That was so good. He's brilliant.
He is. I don't know how I ended up like on that train, but yeah, we've been doing a live stream since the beginning of this year, and it's just like AI focused, and that seems to be a popular topic. Have you noticed like every episode that you host somehow devolves into a conversation about AI eventually?
It is just it's such a first of all, it's a very broad topic.
Yeah.
It really is infiltrating every area of our work and ultimately I think our lives. And right now we're all still trying to figure out where does it make sense? How do you optimize it? How do you best use it? What are the tools? How are they most valuable? And then and right now the next new thing is a moment by moment conversation. So there's just so much to talk about. And, back when we were doing this with the internet, like we had our own little private communities, like maybe our IRC chats where it was happening, but the internet hadn't enabled all the chatter that we're able to do now. And so, it's everywhere. And
if guests don't
honestly
bring it up,
hard
I'm
not
bringing
to
it
talk
up.
about it.
Like I'll bring it up because I feel like it's so. We haven't talked about AI. We should talk about AI. I've been trained by like marketing teams around the world to.
We tell everyone we're legally required to ask about it because it's everywhere, right? It's in everything.
Yeah.
One of the episodes that we published earlier in mid-August, we had Rizal Scarlett and Ian Douglas from Block, and they helped develop and promote Goose, which is like a competitor to Claude or something along those lines. And yeah, that was a super fascinating episode where we were just talking about the limitations of what you could do with AI and how it knows but doesn't know things. It's, I don't know. It's so weird. It's like talking to an alien intelligence. Maybe that's what AI should really stand for. Because things that should be obvious and you would expect it to know, it just has no clue. But it's able to talk a good game.
Yeah, and prompt engineering is becoming its programming language too. Prompt engineering is just out of this world. Sorry, Yvonne.
No, you're good. I have a 15-year-old who's a sophomore in high school, and we were, we always kind of get together as a family and have some little discussion at the end of the day, like, how was your day? What was the best part of your day? We do that. And she was like, I have an assignment to do, and I'm required to use AI for it. Like, I have to do this summary, and we're supposed to use AI for it. And I'm like, I think she was kind of like, I don't really want to. And I'm like, hey, like, it's a skill that you're going to need, right? You're going to need to understand how it works, how it functions, how to double check it, and of course that's going to change a lot. But I thought it was interesting that a small community public high school is already integrating, using AI with students, as opposed to saying, no, AI is, it's going to destroy education and, you can't use it. They're already incorporating it into how they're teaching students. And I was actually pleasantly surprised and was kind of like, no, you really should, kiddo. It's a good thing.
Those high schools in Kentucky are using AI, folks. Remember that. In Kentucky,
we don't have shoes, but we're using AI. Playing into the trope.
My wife is a college professor type person teaching, and she sees a ton of AI, and it feels like it's a lot similar in industry, that it is a tool that everyone is using. It's thoroughly permeated, especially younger folks. And it either can make you really weak because you just rely on it and it gives you the answer and you turn it in, or it can make you strong because you ask questions and interrogate it and use it for teaching. And she sees this clear schism between the folks that use it differently. It's either making them really good and informed, or it's making them weaker because they're relying on it or didn't have time. And so it's an oddly two-sided sword here. It's two-bladed for sure.
I have to wonder, my kids are growing up as digital natives. They've never known a world without the internet, without tablets, without smartphones. And so that's the environment they're growing up in. But the generation after them is going to grow up AI native. These tools and ways of interacting with the world are going to become second nature to them. And I'm very curious to see what that looks like, because I already see how much better they are with technology from an intuitive sense than even I am. And I consider myself pretty good with technology. But I watch them on my phone and I'm like, how do you do that? Like, they're so fast and they don't think about, what you need to do to operate a phone, because it's just second nature.
My daughter's almost 4, and she has ChatGPT tell us bedtime stories and then illustrate them. And so she'll come over and sit on my lap at my office desk, and she's like, let's have the robot tell us a bedtime story. So it's very, very native to AI. Sorry, Yvonne, go ahead.
No, you're good. I have a few kids that are dyslexic, and my youngest, plays his video games, Roblox or things like that. And I see him using like the speech to text, the chat functions already. And those have existed before generative AI, but to see them just natively use those tools and know how to use them, I think it'll be interesting to see how much they're able to accomplish with them. And I think we're learning too about, kids and their exposure to technology and what they need. And I think that the next generation is going to have a much more robust experience, because we will have learned from, Gen Z and Gen Alpha. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes of it.
Indeed. Well, I guess we're all just running one massive AI experiment, aren't we?
That's life right now. Yep.
It's the Matrix, right?
It is.
Yep.
Well,
learn how to use a drill, learn how to create a fire in case anything ever happens. Some basic stuff is always good. Get out in nature every once in a while.
I like that. That's a good idea to ride out on. If folks want to listen to the Cloud Gambit, what's the easiest way to find it?
Packetpushers.net. We're under the Packet Pushers umbrella now. All the old episodes. So I think we started on Packet Pushers with episode 50. I can't remember now. But yeah, packetpushers.net. If you want to hear the old episodes, thecloudgambit.com. They're still up there. We're going to keep them up for a while, maybe indefinitely, because you can do with Buzzsprout, you can do like a historical, hey, we're just going to keep what we have. We're not going to do anything new, and then pay like a very tiny trivial fee. So we'll keep them up. And then YouTube as well.
All right. Excellent.
Yep.
Well, thank you for being on the live stream with us and hanging out. And we'll see you around the Packet Pushers virtual office.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next month.